Lao Tzu's ancient code for acceptance, balance, and flow. In the earliest light, the world moves with a quiet rhythm. The first colors of day drift across the sky without effort, settling into place with a calm certainty. This gentle unfolding mirrors the central teaching of the Tao, the natural order that emerges without force. In this calm transition, nothing strains to become anything else. The horizon does not rush the sun. The breeze does not push the morning into shape. Everything arrives in its own time, revealing how balance forms when pressure is released. This opening principle invites a return to simplicity. When the inner world becomes crowded with noise, expectations, and urgency, clarity fades. Yet in the quiet of first light, clarity rises again, like mist lifting away from a still lake. Acceptance becomes possible when the mind settles enough to notice what is already unfolding. Balance forms when the inner current moves in harmony with what exists, not in opposition to it. Flow takes shape when resistance loosens, allowing life to move toward its natural form. Here, in this gentle beginning, the Tao shows its first truth. The world does not need to be pushed to move. It simply moves.
The soft strength of flow. When water moves across stone, it leaves no sign of struggle. It follows the path shaped by the land, adjusting without hesitation, shifting with quiet intelligence. Over seasons, this soft movement reshapes the very surface it touches. The stone endures by holding its form. The water endures by accepting change. This interplay reveals a deeper principle. Softness is not weakness. Softness is strength expressed without force. In nature, flow emerges from cooperation rather than resistance. Rivers do not battle their banks. They travel with the contours before them. Even when obstacles interrupt their course, the current finds a new way through, bending without breaking. This gentle adaptation reflects the first code of the Tao, the power found in yielding. When life presents sharp turns or unexpected barriers, the instinct may be to harden, to brace against disruption. But hardness cracks under pressure. Softness adjusts, transforms, and continues. To live with flow is to release the insistence on a single direction. It is to trust that new pathways appear when rigidity dissolves. Just as moving waters create depth through patience, the mind develops steadiness through quiet, persistent openness. Flow becomes not an escape from difficulty, but a meeting of it with quiet resilience.
The quiet guidance of natural cycles. In every landscape, cycles move with unbroken continuity. Tides rise and fall. Light brightens and fades. Seasons shift with patterns that never hurry, never cling, never resist transition. These cycles reveal a wisdom older than any philosophy. Life moves in rhythms, not straight lines. When one phase recedes, another arrives. Nothing stays constant, yet nothing is lost. This quiet guidance reflects Lao Tzu's teaching that acceptance is not passive. It is the recognition that change is not a threat, but a companion to growth. The shore does not struggle when the tide withdraws. The canopy does not resist when leaves loosen and return to the soil. Each transition nourishes the next, forming a balance sustained by letting go. When the inner world attempts to hold on to what is fading or force what has not yet arrived, friction forms. But when the mind aligns with natural rhythms, effort softens, decisions become clearer, energy becomes steadier, the path becomes less tangled. To accept the movement of cycles is to trust that every change, even the unwelcome ones, carries the possibility of renewal. Like the shifting seasons, balance emerges not from control, but from harmony with time's natural motion.
If these ideas speak to you, consider subscribing so you can keep exploring these deeper forms of clarity and balance with us.
The strength found in still water. In a quiet valley, still water gathers without resistance. Its surface reflects the world with clarity because nothing disturbs its form. This stillness is not emptiness. It is depth, quietly held. Beneath the surface, currents move with steady purpose, unseen but powerful. This quality reflects a central teaching of the Tao. True strength is composed, grounded, and unforced. Still water reveals the nature of inner calm. When the mind settles, reflection sharpens. Thoughts drift without entanglement. Emotion rises and softens without becoming overwhelming. Just as undisturbed water mirrors the sky with fidelity, a calm inner world mirrors reality without distortion. From this state, wiser choices emerge. Yet stillness is often misunderstood. It is not withdrawal, nor is it stagnation. In nature, stillness precedes transformation. Lakes feed rivers. Snowmelt gathers before returning to motion. Pauses prepare momentum. When stillness is embraced rather than feared, clarity rises like sediment settling out of moving waters. To cultivate this stillness is to recognize the value of quiet presence. When life feels chaotic, stillness offers the first foothold. When taken gently, one moment of calm becomes the beginning of balance. Where balance begins. Balance does not emerge suddenly. It forms through subtle adjustments, like the evening air cooling as daylight recedes. In nature, equilibrium is a conversation between forces. Winds soften when pressure equalizes. Streams slow when the land widens. Even the tallest peaks remain steady because the earth supports their weight in quiet partnership. This reveals an overlooked truth. Balance is not a static point, it is an ongoing exchange. In personal life, imbalance often arises not from one heavy burden, but from many small pressures unnoticed over time. Attention scattered, energy pulled in conflicting directions, expectations rising faster than capacity. Nature offers a different approach. When branches bend under snow, they lower gently, reducing tension until the weight slips away. They do not resist, they adapt. Balance returns through soft recalibration. To cultivate balance, one begins with awareness. What feels heavy? What feels stretched? What quietly asks for release? The moment these signals are acknowledged, the path to steadiness begins. Like wind finding its calm once pressure evens out, the mind finds equilibrium when demands and resources align. In the Tao, balance is not an achievement, it is a relationship. The ease of natural alignment. When a river meets a natural slope, it moves with smooth certainty. Nothing must be forced. Nothing strains. The movement feels inevitable, as though the landscape and the water share a silent understanding. This ease reflects the principle of alignment. Life moves most fluidly when actions follow the natural shape of circumstances. Alignment is not surrender, it is clarity. When the land changes, the river changes. When the current deepens, its speed adjusts. There is no argument with reality, only cooperation. From this harmony, momentum emerges without effort. In personal life, alignment feels like coherence between intention and action. When something is right, energy flows. Tension dissolves. Decisions become lighter. Momentum builds without being pushed. When something is forced, friction rises. Energy drains. The path feels heavy. The Tao teaches that alignment is discovered, not constructed. Just as a river does not design its course, clarity arises when inner resistance quiets. The simplest path becomes visible. The next step feels natural. In alignment, effort remains, but strain fades. Like water meeting the natural fall of the land, life moves with quiet precision when we stop wrestling with what already is.
The power of gentle persistence. Every hillside shaped by time shows the work of gentle persistence. Winds soften sharp ridges, rains carry away what no longer belongs. Over years, new curves form, new patterns emerge, new lines shape the land. None of this happens through force, yet the landscape transforms completely. This reveals one of the Tao's quiet truths: lasting change grows through steady, unhurried movement. In nature, nothing demands immediate transformation. Seedlings rise gradually. Rivers carve valleys over ages, yet their influence is undeniable. Gentle persistence differs from forceful effort. Force attempts to override reality and often fractures under its own intensity. Persistence works with reality, finding small openings that widen over time. This kind of movement is subtle but unwavering. In personal growth, gentle persistence feels like choosing clarity again each morning, returning to calm when the mind drifts, making one steady adjustment instead of many frantic ones. Progress appears slowly at first, then unmistakably. Like erosion shaping stone, gentle persistence forms powerful change without violence, urgency, or strain.
Letting go as a form of strength. In the natural world, release is not loss. Leaves loosen their hold when their season ends. Snow melts when warmth returns. Rivers lighten after floodwaters recede. Letting go is not a collapse, it is a return to balance. The Tao teaches that release is a form of strength. Clinging creates tension. Holding what has already passed creates imbalance. When nature releases, space opens for renewal. The forest breathes. The land restores its nutrients. Flow returns. Letting go does not happen all at once. It unfolds like ice thinning across a lake, softening, loosening, dissolving its grip. When the process is allowed, not rushed, harmony reemerges on its own. In inner life, letting go might mean releasing a belief that no longer supports growth or loosening an expectation that has become too heavy. When pressure softens, clarity returns, and the path ahead becomes lighter. Release is not a sign of defeat. It is the recognition that life moves forward when we stop holding it back. Moving with natural timing. Nature follows its timing with unwavering discipline. Blossoms open only when conditions align. Rain arrives only when clouds can no longer hold their weight. Even the longest storms disperse when balance returns to the air. Nothing arrives early or late. Every motion waits for its moment. This rhythm reflects a core teaching of the Tao. Timing shapes outcomes as much as effort. When action arises too soon, it struggles. When it arrives too late, opportunity has shifted. But when movement aligns with the natural moment, it succeeds with surprising ease. In life, frustration often comes from premature urgency or from resisting a phase that has not yet ended. Yet when we observe like nature does, quietly, patiently, timing becomes clearer. Opportunities that once felt forced now feel intuitive. Decisions once clouded become gentle and simple. Natural timing is not inactivity, it is attentiveness. It is the awareness of when conditions are forming and when they are ready. Just as the tide begins its return before the eye notices, inner readiness often appears long before it is recognized. Acting at the right moment creates results that force alone cannot achieve. Harmony without control. Across a mountain range, winds shift, clouds disperse, and sunlight settles in patterns that no single force directs. Harmony emerges not from control, but from the interplay of independent movements finding equilibrium. This is the Tao's quiet wisdom. Balance forms when forces interact naturally, not when they are manipulated. Control attempts to narrow possibilities. Harmony allows them. In nature, this openness sustains stability. When winds intensify, forests bend. When drought lingers, roots reach deeper. Each element participates in balance without overpowering the others. In personal life, control often stems from fear of uncertainty, imperfection, or change. Yet excessive control constricts, creating pressure where openness is needed. Harmony arises when the mind loosens its grip, allowing thoughts and emotions to settle into their natural places. This does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means recognizing that clarity grows when internal interference quiets. Just as a landscape arranges itself without force, the inner world finds order when tension softens. Harmony is not built, it is allowed. Entering the depth of stillness. As night settles across open land, stillness deepens. Sounds drift further apart. Movements slow. Temperatures drop with quiet deliberation. This deep stillness reveals the third phase of understanding: introspection. When external noise fades, inner patterns become easier to sense. Stillness allows the quieter truths to rise, truths drowned out by urgency during the day. The Tao emphasizes this depth not as isolation, but as clarity. When the world grows dim, subtler details appear: the faint shift of air, the softened gradient along the horizon, the slow cooling of earth. In the same way, the mind discovers its deeper insights when activity eases. Beneath the surface, motivations, fears, and long-held assumptions become visible. Introspection does not force these truths into the light, it invites them. This depth brings honesty. It becomes clear which inner movements align with balance and which create unnecessary strain. Like the quiet landscape revealing its contours under the night sky, the inner world reveals the patterns that shape behavior. In this phase, the Tao teaches that depth is reached not by digging, but by settling. The clarity beneath turbulence. A storm can churn the surface of a lake, but beneath the turbulence, the deeper water remains calm. This layered stillness reflects a profound Taoist insight. Turbulence is rarely the whole truth. Beneath agitation, a quieter foundation always exists.
When emotions rise like shifting winds, attention tends to fixate on the surface. The mind assumes the entire depth is disturbed. Yet when awareness sinks lower, a steadier rhythm becomes visible. Nature demonstrates this repeatedly. Ocean swells rise and fall, but the deeper currents continue their ancient paths unchanged. Introspection involves recognizing this deeper layer within. Even during stress, a quieter place remains untouched. When awareness returns there, reactions soften, decisions slow, clarity reappears. This is not detachment from life. It is the recognition that reacting from the surface leads to distortion, while responding from depth leads to wisdom. Like descending into cooler water below restless waves, the mind gains steadiness by moving beneath agitation rather than fighting through it. The Tao teaches that clarity is not created, it is uncovered.
Accepting what rises. In natural landscapes, nothing is rejected. Storms arrive, winds intensify, floodwaters rise and recede. Nature does not judge these shifts, it absorbs them. This acceptance reflects another teaching of the Tao, acknowledging what arises without resistance. When experiences appear, whether pleasant or difficult, they are part of the broader movement of life. To resist them is to create friction. To accept them is to allow movement. Acceptance does not mean approval, it means space. It means recognizing that reactions form stronger when suppressed and soften when allowed. Just as wetlands absorb heavy rains without breaking, the mind absorbs emotion with greater resilience when it stops bracing against it. In this acceptance, intensity dissipates more rapidly. Insights reveal themselves. The emotional landscape returns to equilibrium. Acceptance creates room for transformation. What is acknowledged can shift. What is rejected becomes rigid. The Tao teaches that allowing emotions to rise and fall naturally mirrors how nature processes every change, with openness, not conflict. The ease of unforced motion. Across long plains, wind moves with an ease that seems effortless. It travels across distances without strain, adjusting to ridges and valleys without hesitation. This fluid movement embodies one of the Tao's deepest principles, unforced motion. Motion becomes unforced when it follows natural momentum rather than opposing it. When wind meets resistance, it shifts rather than battles. When currents converge, they blend rather than collide. This adaptability allows great distances to be crossed with minimal effort. In inner life, unforced motion feels like progress that arises from clarity rather than pressure. Decisions align without being pushed. Ideas form without being pulled. Actions follow intention with coherence. This ease is not laziness or avoidance, it is precision. It is the removal of unnecessary tension. It is the quiet intelligence found in moving with the shape of life rather than against it. When life aligns with unforced motion, burdens lighten, progress accelerates, and the mind enters a rhythm that feels both grounded and free. If these ideas are helping you reconnect with clarity and balance, consider joining the channel. It supports the work and keeps these teachings flowing to those who need them. Returning to simplicity. In the deepest hours of night, the landscape simplifies. Shapes soften, colors recede, motion slows. Complexity gives way to quiet outlines. This simplicity mirrors the Taoist idea of returning to one's original nature, a state unburdened by excess or performance. Simplicity
is not the removal of life's richness. It is the removal of what distorts perception. When nature simplifies, its essence becomes clearer. The curve of a hillside, the quiet shift of air, the faint glimmer of reflected light. Nothing more is needed. In inner life, simplicity means releasing what no longer aligns, letting expectations soften, allowing the mind to unclutter. When this happens, a deeper strength emerges, not the strength of accumulation, but the strength of clarity. The Tao teaches that simplicity reveals truth. Noise distracts, complexity overwhelms. But when the inner landscape quiets, wisdom becomes easier to recognize. In simplicity, the mind returns to its natural state, spacious, steady, and receptive. The depth of inner quiet. In the stillness before dawn, the world reaches its quietest point. The air is cool, the land holds its breath. Even the faintest movement becomes noticeable. This depth of quiet reveals the essence of introspection, calm that allows awareness to widen. Inner quiet is not the absence of thought. It is the softening of turbulence. Thoughts drift like distant clouds rather than storms. Emotions settle like dust returning to the earth. In this state, the mind listens rather than reacts. Nature shows that the calmest moments often carry the most potential. Seeds germinate beneath the soil in silence. Still air prepares for the return of morning winds. Quiet water holds the reflection of the whole sky. In personal life, inner quiet allows old patterns to loosen. Decisions arise more naturally. Insight appears without being summoned. This depth is reached not by controlling the mind, but by allowing it to rest. The Tao teaches that clarity grows in quiet soil. The softening of the day's weight. As dawn approaches, the land slowly warms. Shadows lift, colors reappear. The heaviness of night dissolves without resistance. This gentle return mirrors how renewal appears in life, gradually, softly, through natural unfolding. The Tao teaches that renewal is not a dramatic transformation, but a quiet return to alignment. When pressure accumulates, renewal begins with small moments, a softened breath, a loosening thought, a single shift toward clarity. These subtle adjustments mirror how landscapes transition between night and day. Renewal does not rush, it follows the rhythm of readiness. Just as the horizon brightens before the sun rises, the inner world often shifts before change is visible. The mind prepares itself in quiet ways. Tension thins, space opens, possibility returns. This softening is a reminder, nothing stays heavy forever. Nature does not cling to any one phase, and neither must we. The return of flow. When morning light spreads across open waters, the surface brightens and movement resumes. Currents reveal their paths once more. Flow returns naturally, without instruction or force. This reawakening reflects the Taoist idea that clarity and balance re-emerge when resistance dissolves. Flow is not something to chase, it appears when the path is cleared. Just as drifting fog lifts to reveal the shape of a valley, inner clarity reveals the shape of the next step. When flow returns, effort becomes lighter, thoughts align, energy renews. Nature shows that flow is not permanent, yet it is reliable. When conditions shift, flow adapts. When obstacles appear, it finds new contours. When movement slows, it waits. This reliability echoes the inner truth.
that clarity always returns when given space. In this moment, flow feels like coherence, a return to natural momentum.
Living with the way. Across the full cycle of day and night, nature demonstrates the principles of the Tao without words. Flow, balance, renewal, release, and quiet strength appear in every landscape. Nothing forces itself into being. Nothing resists its season. From this ease, harmony emerges. To live with the way is not to imitate nature, but to recognize that we belong to the same pattern. When inner life aligns with these rhythms, pressure loosens, choices simplify, awareness deepens. What once felt overwhelming becomes navigable. Living with the way does not remove difficulty, but it changes our relationship to it. Hardship becomes a shifting season rather than a permanent state. Uncertainty becomes part of movement rather than something to fear. This alignment creates an inner environment where resilience grows naturally, like new shoots after long rains. Walking forward with the Tao. As full daylight settles across the land, the world resumes its movement with steady rhythm. Flow returns. Balance renews. Complexity softens. This quiet harmony reflects the essence of Lao Tzu's ancient code. Acceptance, balance, and flow are not distant ideals. They are natural states revealed when resistance fades. The teachings of flow show that strength can be soft. The teachings of effortless action show that impact can be quiet. The teachings of simplicity show that clarity emerges when the unnecessary is released. Together, they create a way of living that feels grounded, spacious, and steady. As you move into the day ahead, carry one truth. The path forward does not need to be forced. Like water finding its course and sunrise finding its horizon, your clarity will return, your balance will reform, and your momentum will grow when you move with the nature of your own life. Thank you for walking through these teachings. If you want more journeys like this, consider subscribing. The path continues, and tomorrow offers another step toward deeper clarity.